Hey, warriors. So, if anybody's been feeling, lost, unmotivated, disconnected, from who you used to be, this isn't failure. Again, it's not depression and it doesn't mean you're going backward, or anything like that. It means something important is falling away. And again, no one talks about this part of awakening. Um, you know, anyways, identity shedding is what happens when the version of you that was built for survival, you know, no longer fits in the life you're growing into. Old identities were formed, as we all know, for coping, roles, expectations, trauma responses, stuff like that. um they once kept you safe, uh but they were never meant to be permanent, right? So you're not losing yourself, you're losing what you used to need to be, what you're losing what you used to need to be. If I'm saying this correctly, for your guys' understanding. um why it feels so uncomfortable. you know First of all, your motivation drops. Passions feel muted. You know what I'm saying? Old goals that you had feel empty now. You don't recognize yourself anymore. It's a difficult phase. The mind panics here because it wants certainty. You know, the nervous system wants familiarity. You know, um, but growth happens in the space where neither gets full control. Does that make sense? Uh, this is the void phase, I guess we'll call it. No old self, no clear new self yet. You see what I'm saying? Um, that this space, it feels quiet, confusing, and sometimes it's pretty lonely. You know, um, a lot of people think something's wrong, and address the common misinterpretation, we'll say, thinking things like, I must be lazy, I lost my purpose, I'm disconnected spiritually, I need to do more. But no, no, that's not what's happening. You're between identities, and that's a sacred process. Most spiritual spaces don't talk about this because it's not flashy and it doesn't sell answers. It can't be rushed, really. You know, Identity shedding, also, to be clear, is not ego death. Okay? Um, I want you to understand these are very important distinctions. Ego death is dramatic. Okay? Identity shedding, is quiet. Ego death wants destruction, right? And identity shedding is integration. Okay? This isn't about killing the ego, right? It's about letting old roles retire with some dignity. Okay? You're keeping discernment, boundaries, wisdom. Okay? you're losing the over functioning, people pleasing, proving, performing. Okay. Why this phase feels emotionally, I don't know, flat, we'll say. And I want you to understand that I'm being gentle here because you need to be gentle with yourself. Emotional neutrality isn't numbness, okay? It's stabilization. You know, your nervous system is recalibrating. You can't build a new sense of self while still emotionally reacting from the old one. You understand? You know, stillness is construction, we'll say, not stagnation here. Okay, it's just not. And there's a couple things that you're not gonna want to do while shedding. Period. Do not rush to define yourself. You understand? Don't force purpose. Don't compare your pace with other people. Because any identity that you grab right now is just going to be another fucking costume, okay? It's not the real you. You understand? What you can do instead, you know, rest more than usual. Simplify your life. You know, let answers that you're needing come in slowly. Trying to think, you know, pay attention to what feels true, you know, not exciting, I guess. Do you understand? You know, that your only job right now is honesty, really. You know, not reinvention, if you will. Right now, you just need to be simple and honest and pace yourself. Okay? The new, and let me tell you this too, the new self is not going to arrive loudly. Okay? When identity shedding completes, you're going to notice things like you stop explaining yourself, you stop needing permission, you stop seeking validation. You just are. Okay? So if you don't recognize yourself right now, that's okay. It really is. Like I said a million times about every other phase of awakening, you're not broken, you know, you're not lost, you're becoming unburdened, if you will. And when the next version of you arrives, it won't need to announce itself, I guess is what I'm saying. You know, it will simply, I don't know, feel like home. I hope I explained this good enough for y'all. I love you, legends.